Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Chag Sameach. Today marks the first day feast of unleavened bread. Last night we had our Pesach observances. They were beautiful. And today I continue with my series on Israelite awakenings. I have with me an esteemed guest, a sister I met so many years ago. She is my sister-in-law, and many of the guests that come on the show are my relatives at this community here in Laywi-Yisrael. We're a family knit community in terms of everyone's related to everyone somehow or the other. Of course, we have members that come in that are not. But I have Boreeyah here. She's a sister. We have many things in common. And today she's coming to share her journey with us. Let's welcome Boreeyah.
Hi, all the family that's watching, and thank you for having me. It is an honor to be here and to get to talk about all things Israelite, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My first question: if this was the last moment, or the first moment, the only moment that you would have ever met me, what would you like for me to know that represents you? Like, who is Boreeyah?
That's a good question. I would like I always say that my legacy left on this planet will not be one of money. You know, some people pass down money and riches to their children. I want to pass down an example of a free woman. Mm-hmm. Free in righteousness now, but a free woman. A woman who was not afraid to be herself. A woman that was not afraid to give glory to the power that created her. A woman who lived life on her terms. Remember, in righteousness now, but live life on her terms, because I feel so many women, can be, especially in our culture, stagnated in that area. Okay. And so this is what I would want a person to remember me by, or what I would want to pass down. Or, well, I guess you worded it like you said, what I would want you to know about me. This is what I would want to pass down. I want you to know an example of a woman who loved God and lived the gift of life that God gave her completely and freely and had fun with it.
Okay, so what I'm gathering is that all of us are creative. And many times we spend our life, of course, we grow, we have parents, siblings, all of these things.
Right.
We have our spouses, etc. But you are seeking, you want to be remembered as someone that was able to pursue your personal enlightenment. Basically, like, this is who I am. I pursued all aspects of my being. I know who I am totally. I
want to leave on record an example that someone could look at, or other women could look at, of a woman that did all the things that you're saying. Within the midst of all the hats that we wear as women, mothers, wives, sisters, community members, servants, whatever. We all see examples of that, but how many examples have we seen of a really free in righteousness, woman? And I want to leave on record image of that, so maybe another young daughter or someone could be like, she was not afraid to be herself. She was not afraid to be out loud with the glory of the Most High that's within her.
Right.
Let me not be afraid.
Okay, got it.
Hallelujah.
So, Boreeyah, you're an Israelite.
Mm-hmm.
How did this happen? What was your upbringing like?
How did I become an Israelite?
Yes, like the journey.
I was born Israelite. No,
I understand.
You know what I mean?
Like the journey to understanding your awakening. As the show is called, it's like awakenings. Okay, like what's your earliest memory of yourself?
Okay, all right. This might be a little long story.
No,
but
you go, yeah.
All right. So I would have to say that as an adult, thinking back now, I would have to go all the way back to my childhood. Even though I was raised in the church, a sect of Christianity, which would be the AME church or whatnot.
Yeah, Zion.
Just my upbringing and the way my parents brought me up, as opposed to the differences I see in the way that they brought my siblings up.
Mm.
That right there lets me know that through them, the Creator was already guiding me.
Well, you're saying all in the same household.
Yes.
But you were.
I was the first. Yes, I was the firstborn. So of course, we all know the firstborn get the most butt whippings and stuff, and after the other ones come, the parents be tired and they don't beat their children butt no more. But I was the one who had the most strictness about going places, doing this, doing that, and stuff like that. And so, like I said, as an adult, I can look back and see that the Creator was using my parents to guide, shape, and mold me. Remember, my name means Yah is my creator. So he was creating me through my life's experiences until I met him, quote unquote, face to face, with coming into this way of life. Okay, so my upbringing was one where I was very in touch with the earth, period. I spent a lot of time in nature, animals, different stuff like that. And I didn't have a lot of friends and things like that. So once again, I didn't get into a lot of trouble and things like that. Once again, guidance from the Creator. Okay. Fast forward. Okay, we're gonna fast forward past the college years because we all wilded out there. But even then, I was protected. The things that people were doing at those ages and stuff. Remember now, we fast forward to college now. I was still being protected from that stuff. The Creator, like I said, looking back now as an adult, I can see where the Creator has always been in my life, protecting me and guiding me and keeping me from certain things, So fast forward to coming home from college, leaving my parents' house and moving to Atlanta by myself.
Okay, so you were born and raised
in Georgia, in another part of Georgia.
What part is that?
Tiff County. It's further down south.
Okay, and then you went to college where?
What was the city called? It was not Savannah. It was Georgia State University, and Georgia Southern University, and it was in Statesville.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Statesville,
it.
Georgia. Okay.
Yeah.
What did you study in college?
I was just doing the core curriculum at first.
Okay.
I really didn't have.
I
just followed what they told you supposed to do.
Right.
Get out of school, go to
Right.
college. I just did that. I really didn't have no direction, and coming out of a fairly strict upbringing, I had my moments of college wilding out. But I wasn't as wild as some people. So, like I said, that's how I know the Creator is still like, all right, Boreeyah, I'm giving you your leeway, but you still got to stay right in here,
Yeah.
Okay, so fast forward past that, going back home and then abruptly leaving my parents' house again to move to Atlanta. I think I was about 20, or either I turned 20 when I got in Atlanta, something like that. Being young, naive and stuff like that, I can look back and see I put myself in a lot of dangerous, positions or whatnot. Once again, guided and protected by the Creator. Nothing happened to me. Okay, so it was in Atlanta where I found this way of life, or through the Atlanta extension of the Kingdom of Yah.
Okay, so were you looking for something spiritual?
I think there was always a calling. You know what? I skipped a few places, so I'm gonna back up a little bit. I feel like the Creator is always calling me. Like I said, once again, as an adult looking back now, I can see what the Creator was constantly calling me. you know, and guiding me towards Him. And I think my first bout of consciousness of becoming more conscious was I saw one of my high school classmates. She used to have a Jerry curl. That was back when Jerry curls was, you know. And she cut her hair down to a short natural. And I was like, oh, I like that. I want to do that. So fast forward going to
What was your
college.
hair at that time? You had
Process perm, you know. And so fast forward a couple of years later in college, you know, I cut my hair back to its natural hair. I returned back to my natural hair. And that right there, I feel like was my first call into consciousness. Seeing that young sister cut her hair and me resonating with that, something in my spirit said, do that. And say, okay, so when I removed the processed hair and went back to my natural hair, I had met some college mates or whatever on campus and stuff like that, and they had locks and they was vegetarian and you know, they was into the conscious lifestyle, and that intrigued me. You know. And so that's when I started, I don't know, getting into a frenzy of researching. I was researching stuff about natural hair, and then when you go into that, I started seeing stuff about Rastafarians and vegetarianism and all, and it all spoke to my spirit. So then I started to, and this was all a natural process. That's why I say I feel the Creator was calling me and guiding me. This was all a natural process. I started going vegan, weaning things out of my diet or whatnot, growing my hair out, different stuff like that. And then I remember it was 2004. I used to hang out in a very, very popular area in Atlanta called the West End. And that's where the restaurant, you know, Soul Vegetarian and all the entities, or the businesses of the Kingdom of Yah were located. And I remember walking down the street past the restaurant. I used to frequent that every so often or whatnot. And a brother came out. His name is Eli. So if Eli, you ever see this, hey, what's up? You know, he was the manager of the barbershop there.
Okay.
You know, back up a little bit. I used to do hair for a short stint of time when I moved to Atlanta.
Okay.
So he was the manager of the barbershop. And so me and him got to talking and became close. Well, he's like, won't you come, you know, work, you know, in the barbershop? Okay, fast forward. I started working in a barbershop doing hair. You know, I wasn't barbering, I was doing locks, natural hair, stuff like that. And
it's stuff you learned since you were done your natural.
Yes,
research.
yes,
Okay.
this is kind of self-learned,
Okay.
you know. And of course, being in that proximity of all the saints there and stuff like that, I started getting absorbed in. And it resonated with me because they already had beliefs of things that I believed in. I was already going vegan, so that caught me. You know, the thoughts and things about Christianity and stuff, that caught me, you know, because I already believed that stuff. Because, like I said, it was a process. I was researching stuff the whole time or whatnot. So a lot of things that they were doing resonated with me. And I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be here. So, and then but I still had questions within myself because excuse me if I'm jumping all over the place, you know, I'm being kind of animated here, but I still had reservations or questions within myself because during all my research, you know, I looked into Islam and stuff like that, but I didn't like how I felt the women were portrayed or whatnot, you know, and I said, okay, you know, let me look at how the women are treated, you know, in, you know, the kingdom or whatnot. And this is what sealed the deal for me and made me go all the way in, meaning I went through absorption, name change, completely vegan, because at that time I think I was still eating some fish. I saw a sister walk across the street to the other restaurant, because there was two restaurants. It was Soul Vegetarian and then there was Everlasting Life. It was across the street. I saw this sister walk across the street to the restaurant, and I watched her, and I was like, whatever she has on her, I want it. It was something about her aura, her spirit. I wanted it. I wanted it. And I was like, okay, all right. She sealed the deal for me. I'm not going to say her name, but she sealed the deal for me. And it was another sister, too, that sealed the deal for me because I liked her whole style. They kind of had their own aura, their own style within the common community, and they attracted my attention. And then I was like, whatever they have, that's what I want. But as a adult, looking back, I realized that I was just looking at a reflection of myself.
Nice.
That's what attracted me. That's what it was. I was seeing myself in this way of life.
From what you're saying, it's powerful to me that you were using your senses to be guided to who you are. Your sight, your sound, the information. But like one of the things, knowing you as a family member, you said you saw the sister with Jerry curls cut her hair. Since I've known you, you've cut your hair like 100, 200 times.
Right.
But for me, like natural hair, when I started to first grow my afro, the feel of it, it was so powerful. Just feeling and looking it in the hair, in the mirror, and seeing the light reflecting it when you have it,
and
oiled
the coils and stuff like that.
That was very powerful. So like for your hair journeys, like your hair grows pretty quickly. And that's natural. Okay, because you cut your hair today and next week it's in locks.
Right. That's what they say. Is I come here now, next thing you look up, it's long again. Yeah. I have been blessed, Toraya, with a beautiful hair journey, I guess you want to call it that. And like you say, when you look at your afro and stuff like that, your natural hair, I feel the same way when I look at it and see the coils and the twists. And then even when I was doing research, as I was, continuously being awakened, consciously, I would read things about the spiral and, and our hair being a spiral and the power that it possesses. And all of that just resonated with me. All of that I was in love with, So, yeah. If you ain't natural, go natural. For real.
That's wonderful. So the hair, the food, the dress, all of that. So what was that like being in Atlanta? I know at that time it was very lively, it was bubbling. What was it like, your transition amongst the sainthood at that time?
I must say that it was timely because I think I was tired of what I was doing. Like I said, I was, even though I had a lot of consciousness about myself, and there are a lot of morals, things that I would not do because of my morals and values, I still was out there in the streets doing things, And so I think, they say that, the Creator called you at the right time. He picked you at the right time, And so I think when I finally went all the way into, the community there, I was ready for a change. I was tired of what I was doing. Like I said, it was just so natural. It was just a natural process. That's why I said I know the Creator called me and guided me. It was just a natural process it wasn't I had a trauma and then that just changed my life. It was just a natural growth. And I think that that's the way that the Creator deals with me, because if the Creator gave me a marker like He gives some people a marker, I couldn't take it. I'm very sensitive. So Creator know His sons and daughters. So He's always dealt with me very, I guess, gently in a way, and in a guiding sort of way, and been very what's the word I want to use? Very for lack of better words, lenient with me, giving me grace, room to kind of, get it, what he was trying to get me to, see, and not like, okay, if you don't get it today, I'm going to strike you down, stuff like that. I feel like the Creator has always been like wow, it's just so beautiful now that I'm trying to put it into words. Been like a really gentle father with me.
Beautiful. So when you were working in the Atlanta extension, what was your duties during the day? Did you work in the restaurant? You say you worked in the barbershop.
Yes.
Or did you work in the restaurant as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I did some it was mandatory, kind of like mandatory nationwide, because I had also moved to the nationwide team.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I was living there, and so I had a shift in the restaurant and stuff like that.
Okay.
I was in the sisterhood, all the things, So I was all inside. That's
nice.
what they like to say, all inside.
That's beautiful. Visit Atlanta from time to time. I enjoy the scenes out there, and to see what they're being able to achieve and maintain, and how they are still there on on the street, and they're known.
Yeah.
Impactful. Recently, they relaunched. Yeah, it's beautiful to go in there and get the mask on and everything. There's a young brother, Yehoiakim from Tel Aviv, the baker.
Okay.
He has his goods there, very, very tasty stuff.
I went to Israel in 2004, but I know I didn't appreciate it now, because I appreciated it then like I would appreciate it now if I was going. I saw the things. I went on the Red Sea cruise. I saw things, and experienced the love from the saints. I was there for New World, but being a sister just coming in and stuff like that, and then not knowing as much of the Tanaka and the understanding that I have today, I know I didn't appreciate it like I would today. So when you say certain things are beautiful, I remember certain experiences that I had there that was just like beautiful. One of the experiences I want to talk about is being on the mount on Shabbat. That was just beautiful, and us just. Everybody was in white, I remember, and it was just, priests were there, and they were saying, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And another thing I remember, because I stayed with Kohen Elikaz, and he lived in, I think, Tel Aviv, and it was walking distance to the Kifar, and so I would walk every day through the desert for exercise, through the desert, to the Kifar to hang out or whatever, be amongst the saints, stuff like that, do things. And it's just amazing how, and I think I was only there for like a month, maybe 3 weeks, a month or something like that. And it's just amazing how being there changes you.
Yes.
And when I'm talking about change, I'm talking about physically. I wasn't doing nothing else but just living and just walking, and then you come back lighter, looking different. It's like you have a glow on you, from being home, So
that's you're saying in Israel, that is the thing that hit you was the Shabbat mountain experience.
One of the things. Okay. And how the saints was just so welcoming, so warm, so welcome. Yeah, they really embody, this is our family coming home.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, they really embody that.
I got that.
That our family is home.
Yes.
So they gave. I remember I got close to this one sister, Sharona, and I remember when we were leaving, because we went as a group. The Saints from America went as a group, I was getting on the bus to leave, and she cried, because I was leaving or whatever, and that's, something, I had nobody cry over me, because I'm leaving, like, shalom, and she cried, because I was leaving, so it's like, the understanding of family is coming home.
Yes.
I felt that.
What about your love for nature? How did that come about your upbringing? Who
Yes.
gives that to you?
Yes,
What
I have to
happened?
give that my father that credit. You know, being the firstborn, he probably wanted me to be a boy. You know, all dads want their first child to be a boy. So I spent a lot of time in nature with him. He's an outdoorsman, hunting, fishing, stuff like that, and you know, I had all the pets. I had dogs, cats, lizards. I had a praying mantis as a pet one time. And my mother used to say that I had a gift with animals because they would relate to me in ways that they wouldn't relate to nobody else. You know, and I still feel that I have that gift.
I think so.
So yeah, I have to give that credit to definitely my father. I was more of a outdoorsy, you know, daughter than the daughter that was learning how to, up under my mother, learning how to cook and be, you know, homemaker and stuff.
So you said your mother said you had a natural knack with animals.
Mm-hmm.
So have you ever won any prizes with animals? I'm leading.
Did Elliot tell you about this? And I'm like, this question, yes, I did. Yes, I have. Twice, actually, in my life.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go to the first one. When I think I was 14 years of age, I had this dog named Scooby-Doo. Scooby. And in a small town where I lived or whatever, they had this dog show happening. It was actually a dog show they were showing, you know, the pit bulls for the standard and the quality and stuff, you know, dog shows. But they also had little fun categories for anybody and their dog. So I entered my dog into the fun category of doing the obstacle course. And we went through the little obstacle course and we won. Okay. So I won. I think they gave me a ribbon and a trophy, some trophies or something like that. Well, we won. We won. Nice. Okay, so that was the first thing. The second thing was recently, and I have to tell you about this recent one. I'm a little upset about it. Not upset, but if Guyana would have had a Guinness Book of World Records, we should have been in it. Because Tatiana, my dog, is the first dog that has won first place in the very first dog shows they've ever had in Guyana. Nice. And she's a rice eater. So, you know, that's unheard of. And so I kind of
rice eater is like a
common breed. Yeah.
She's
a South American common breed. Yeah. So, yes, I entered her in the obedience that they had. And just, you know, showing off her little obedience tricks and stuff that I taught her. And she won 2 years in a row. Wow. First place. So I got some trophies back home in Guyana of her.
Now, this breed or lack of breed is not known. It's not known to be able to be trained.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
No.
If you look at a regular rice-eating guy, just running around doing whatever it does to survive. Where did you get Tatiana from? How the journey to?
Well, people who know me know that I love my dog very, very much. And to some people, it may be like weird and it's just a dog. But no, the Creator sent me her. The Creator sent me her. She is what would be called a pandemic puppy because she was born during the pandemic, during a time where everybody was isolated and stuff like that. Elio was over here. I was in Guyana, you know, with the family there, but by myself in the house and whatnot, you know. And I remember walking. Because I would go on my morning walks or whatever. I remember walking Diamond Scheme, 7th Street. And I passed the house. And next thing I know, a dog came running out. The gate was closed, of course, but the dog came running out. And behind this dog, it was a female, was puppies following. And I was like, oh my God. And so I called upstairs, inside. And the boy came out. I was like, I think I asked him, this is your dog, these your puppies? He's like, yeah. I'm like, are you trying to get rid of him? He's like, yeah, take one. And I just picked her up for whatever reason. And I began to walk on off, get ready to walk home. It started raining, and we took shelter. I took shelter underneath there's a pharmacy on 7th Street. I don't know if you know that pharmacy or whatever,
Yes.
but under their canopy or whatever they had. And I had Tatiana in my hand. She was about this big. And I put her down. I looked at her and I was like, what should I name you? What is your name? Instantly to my spirit, I heard Tatiana. I was like, that is your name. So I believe her spirit and my spirit connected, where she was able to tell me her name. Now, when I looked it up and found out it was a Russian, I was like, girl, you Russian? You Russian? But, and it means fairy queen.
Okay.
In Russian. And so, I know the Creator sent her to me because of the way that I don't know if you understand. I know you do soul contracts and stuff like that. I do believe animals carry a spirit, have a soul. They are creations of the Creator, and the Creator loves them as well. And that having dominion over the animals don't mean we're supposed to mistreat them.
Yeah, absolutely not.
And so I believe that the Creator sent her to me during a time in my life where I was going to go through a lot of things with spiritual awakening, and she was going to help to buffer that. Because she has been a joy in my life, and as I was going, and spiritual awakening never stops. But there'll be those really tough pockets of the spiritual awakening where you really going through transition, and when you go through transition, it's not only just in your spirit; it's everything. It's holistic.
Yes.
It's everything. And so it was like during that pandemic time and those early 2020 years, I was going through a lot of awakening. Everything about me was changing. Things that I used to resonate with didn't resonate with anymore. Things that I believed didn't believe anymore. The ways that I thought about the Creator and the way that we, worship Him and relate to Him changed for me. I started, really. That was one of those times, I guess, where I was meeting the Creator. Again, I've talked about that before, in the service when I gave testimonies, there come those times when you actually meet the Creator face to face. And those types of awakening can be really tumultuous. Can be very tumultuous. And I believe the Creator sent this soul through Tatiana to help me. I believe that's exactly why she's here. And that's why I treat her the way that I treat her. Meaning, the bond and the connection that I have.
Wonderful.
And then once again, looking as a adult, looking back on my childhood, having always had connections with animals, I realized that they've always been spirit guides. Yeah, especially dogs. A couple of cats too, but they've always been spirit guides for me.
What about, you said at that time you were going through certain journeys. What about your health journey? Before we get to the health journey, let's talk about your fitness journey.
That is a rabbit hole within itself. Okay, so I seriously got into fitness before I met the Kingdom in Atlanta, but during the time I was living in Atlanta, I got into fitness. And getting into fitness at that time meant me working out myself. Okay. So after, moving from Atlanta, after, maybe getting married to LEL, after leaving the Atlanta extension, getting married to Cohen, LEL, from Guyana. I got deeper into it, meaning that I got certified in different areas of fitness. So I was a certified fitness instructor for 20 plus years of my life. Enjoyed it. I've always, and my love for fitness, I feel came from, the principles of the Kingdom as well, because yes, I was just about to say, because holy concern is a big thing for us, and so once again, one of the things that resonated with me, I've always been really into health or whatever, as like I say, when I cut my hair and start doing my conscious, researches and stuff like that, really getting into health and things like that. So that led me down the path of, becoming a certified fitness instructor. And I was that for 20 plus years, worked in a lot of different gyms internationally and here locally, when I say locally, America, until the pandemic hit. All the gyms closed down, and I was in Guyana at that time, so all the gyms closed down. No more teaching, of course. Trying to get all my thoughts together and remember the timelines here. And once again, going through all those awakening were things that resonated with me.
You said that, right?
Yes.
I heard that.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't the same as before.
Right. I didn't want to. I didn't have the love for it anymore.
I think at one time you told me that the standard, the reason for fitness that you had was not the same reason anymore. Like you said, it was more like a vanity of physical.
Yes, when I first got into fitness,
right.
Yeah, because when I first got into fitness, I'm in my early 20s. So of course I'm trying to get the bang boom bam bam, or keep it rather, maintain it rather, and make it better. But then once again, throughout my consciousness, I started adding on other reasons, but the vanity was already, and then vanity isn't always a bad thing.
Right.
I think when we hear the word vanity, it's like, oh, she thinks she all that, or she thinks she look good. I mean, our bodies are the temple of the Most High. The Most High don't want to live in no junkie house.
Right.
So keep your house in order.
I like that.
So but when the pandemic hit and obviously wasn't able to teach, and then the gym started opening back up, I really couldn't. I don't know if it was that I really couldn't find sustainable work, or I just lost I think I was burnt out a lot too.
Okay.
After years of pounding on myself, through the gym and working out hardcore workouts, because anybody know me know I was hardcore. I think I burnt down. I think it was once again those spiritual awakening transitions to where gym didn't resonate with me anymore. And I still believe in working out, because even now I'm back in the gym, getting back in the gym. But it's different now. It's a whole different mentality towards it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I find from knowing you as a person and listening to you speak your message here, it's that you're spiritual. You listen spiritually. A lot of times we live as spiritual beings, but we don't listen.
Yes.
So I find that you listen to it and you.
Can I say something about that?
Yes. Right.
And I'm sure there's some points I'm forgetting, because I'm kind of skipping around here as I remember things or whatnot. But I just somewhat lost interest in it. And then also I was healing, doing these awakenings again, healing from a lot of things. And I think I was healing. And I know I was healing from what I call fitness industry trauma. And what I mean by that is feeling like, okay, I'm fit, but this not enough. Let me work on this. Let me work on that. Trying to get the, I guess maybe westernized standard of what fit looks like or whatnot, And so I think the Creator had it so to where I could pull all the way back and heal. And naturally, that was one of the things that I had to heal.
Okay, and that's during the pandemic.
During the time when things started opening back up too.
Okay. I find like during the pandemic, a lot of people came to a lot of realizations when they were forced to sit, not move around, and think about themselves, etc. That's powerful. So, does your wellness in terms of your nutritional journey, is it related to your fitness journey?
Yes, and that's a whole nother rabbit hole too, because they definitely go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been inclined to since my early 20s, a plant-based way of eating in different levels.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was about 20 plus years that I was strictly vegan, strictly. And then like the pandemic did everything. The pandemic kind of like rewired a lot of stuff. And when you're going through that rewiring, it's like you go far left, then far right until you get back into the balance.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So during that time, for whatever reason, my body started craving things that were not vegan. So I opened up my diet, and I'm doing diplomatic words here. So I opened up my diet to other things, you know, and these other things, yeah, although they were tasty, my psyche always felt guilty. Mm-hmm. Always felt bad. I knew there's somewhere deep in me. I know within me that I'm meant to have a plant predominant, mm-hmm. you know, lifestyle, way of eating. You know, I know that. And then even learning about my blood type kind of sealed the deal for that too. And my blood type is one where I thrive best on plant-based way of eating. You know, and I'm not using the word diet on purpose because it is a way of eating. Mm-hmm. And some other revelations about that came to me as far as, you know, in this Western society now, there's so many ways you're supposed to eat, mm-hmm. depending on what guru you choose to listen to. Right. There's all these ways, but you can create your own reality. You create your own reality. So if you envision yourself as a person that eats this way, mm-hmm. even though the gurus may say, no, eat this way, mm-hmm. you envisioned yourself eating this way. Right. You can be that because you're creating your reality. Mm-hmm. And so I envision and choose to see myself as I've coined the word plant-frocentric, as a plant-frocentric system, because through trial and error physically, I've seen what it does for me and how I felt, and then spiritually, how I feel and the guilt I feel for eating, and you know, if I love animals so much, why am I, you know, and stuff like that. And so, and that's one of the things I'm big on. Also, visualization and being a co-creator of my experience on this planet. You know, and I guess that's where some of the spirit of being created by Yah, my name, comes from. I realize that I'm also a co-creator, so I can create what I want for myself. Okay. So if I envision myself being this, all I got to do is be it. And
tying in back to the first question I asked you,
mm-hmm.
where you said you want to be remembered and known as a person that was able to explore their full manifestation on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Your explorations in the diet, when you said you opened up the diet, was that part of it in learning yourself in this journey?
Oh, you asked me, yes. Was that not part of it?
Was that part of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. I think everything that you go through in life is part of it.
Okay.
It's meant to shape who you are supposed to be, and the things that you go through in life can either make you better or bitter.
Okay. Better or bitter.
Yeah. It's up to you to choose which one.
Okay. The manifestation of it. So, in where you are in your state as Israelite, you know, in this journey of life as an Israelite, mm-hmm. what do you see? You know, you said you were an active member of the Kingdom of Yah. Mm-hmm. You're an active member now with the Hebrew family of Charlotte, mm-hmm. Guyana, etc. What do you see as a vision that you think the nation of Israel needs to be one unified body?
I think taking the best concepts of both sides of the stick of the two sticks. You know, there's the, not the parable, but the scripture about the two sticks coming together, taking the best side, the best attributes of the sticks and putting it together.
Okay.
Yeah. And just my opinion, I would say some of the best attributes of this side of the stick would be the knowledge that we have on our history, Tanakh. You know, the kingdom side of the stick would be maybe like the way of dress, the diet, the
governance.
Yes, the community type thing, those things. But when we get both of the best parts of each side, and I don't ever want it, at least coming from me, to look like it's a separation, because it's not. It's just two different experiences to create the one big experience, the bigger picture, you know. But when we take the best of the two sides of the experience and put them together to create the remnant. So that's what I think.
So what is your final thought, final message?
Oh, we almost done. I like talking about myself. This has been wonderful. A wonderful project that you are doing. And like I said, I'm honored to be a part of it. I don't get, you know, much of opportunity to share my weirdness and my thoughts or whatnot. I'm self-proclaimed weirdo, but it's very refreshing. And I guess the last words that I think this is what you was trying to ask me, the last thing that I would want somebody to know before we leave.
Or just you know, like your last thoughts, whatever.
Last thoughts. First thing that came to me is find the creator for yourself. Find the creator for yourself. It's easy to come out and listen to those that have been ordained to give you information about the creator. But at the end of the day, one day you're going to meet the creator face to face yourself. You have to find him for yourself and have your relationship with the creator for yourself. Wives, you can't do it through your husband. You can't. You got to find the creator for yourself. And husbands, you definitely can't do it through your wife. You can't do it through leadership. These are just guides that the creator gives you to help you along your journey. But one day you're going to meet the creator face to face, and you're going to have to build that relationship or have that relationship with him on your own. So that's what I would leave to the good people who are watching this video, is to find and work on a relationship between you and the creator yourself. Once you have that, you can do anything within righteousness that you want to do.
And so, Rabbi, you brought it full circle in your opening answers to the question, and in the closing ones, I thank you for your presence here. We're honored to have you.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best in your continued journey.
Hallelujah.
God Sameach.
God Sameach.